logic of it, understand the larger purpose. Allah has made this deen one of submitting to Him. If you're having a hard time submitting to Him, you're having a hard time with Islam itself, the very central idea of deen itself. It's not to say you shouldn't understand the ahkam of Allah, but you and I have to be ones that once we understand them, we have to, whether we get it or not, whether we see the logic of it or not, we have to give it up. We have to just give it up. Allah Azza wa Jalla even acknowledged in Surah Al-Baqarah when it came to riba. He said, well, ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا الْبَيْعُ مِثْلُ الرِّبَى. It's a very interesting discussion. Allah Azza wa Jalla says there are people who consume riba, and they say that, that's because they say that business is just like riba. I mean, if you look at liquid transactions as to solid transactions and money and cash and what it's backed by, and it's a complicated discussion. It could go either way. You can't even tell the difference. 1920, potato, 1-2 lines in a contract. I mean, what's the big deal? It is the same. And if you sit and have a 4-hour argument with a finance major about whether riba is halal or not, or what's the difference between riba and business, you might say, yeah, it's the same, yeah. I don't see the practical difference. But Allah then made only one line. Instead of explaining to you the fine line differences between them, He said there's only one more thing you need to know. Now that you understand, to you in your head they're very similar, there's only one more thing. وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَى. End of story. Allah made business halal and He made riba haram. That is it. That's the conclusion. Now with that background in mind, I want you to, inshallah ta'ala, reflect upon the words of this profound ayah. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu. Of course the ayah is addressing us. Man yartadda minkum an dinihi. The one who turns away among you, minkum, an dinihi, from his deen. The one who turns back from among you from his deen. Allah didn't say all of us are turning back from our deen, a group from among us. And man is an interesting word in Arabic. It could refer to something plural, and it can also refer to something singular. So from a point of view of taqleel, it could be even if a single person is walking away from deen. They're walking away from the religion. And I've already mentioned to you this can happen in two ways. One, practically they denounce Islam altogether. And two, for all practical purposes, internally, in their heart of hearts, in their thoughts, they really don't submit to Allah. They don't really see the point of living by Allah's teachings. They don't see the point in that anymore. So for those practical purposes, they walked away from deen also, even if nobody else, human beings don't see it. We see a Muslim on the outside, we're supposed to say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. We're not supposed to judge what's in their heart, but Allah can. Allah sees what's inside. So whoever of you has walked away, or does so, then what does Allah say? فَسَوْفَ, then soon. And sawfa is the Arabic word that implies very soon. It won't take very long for Allah to take immediate steps. And what are those steps? يَأْتِ اللَّهُ بِقَوْمٍ. Allah will bring about a nation. Allah will bring forward a nation. It's very interesting. The first part was even if one of you walks away, and then Allah says Allah will bring a whole nation around. In other words, you start thinking you're special? You think Allah needs you? You think you're a contributor to Islam that nobody else can be? That you are irreplaceable? Allah Azza wa Jalla essentially says, what to speak of you, I'll bring a nation instead of you. You're not an asset. Don't think of yourself as that high. Already we're being put in our place. And one of the central embedded teachings of this ayah is humility. That we understand our place. That in this deen, when we get the honor of saying La ilaha illallah, when we have the honor of saying Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, then this is an honor and a gift given by Allah. And if you don't appreciate this gift, then who needs you? There's plenty of others that can appreciate it more than you and I. There's plenty of others. Similarly, we have to stop thinking even those among us who are involved in religious activity. They're involved in positions of leadership, of volunteering, of helping out Islamic causes, whatever they're doing, in whatever capacity. Sometimes you start thinking, man, if I don't do it, it won't get done. If I'm not the one giving the khutbah, if I'm not the one helping out volunteering at the masjid, if I'm not on the board, if I'm not the MSA president, if I'm not running the da'wah organization, man, this work cannot happen. I can't even believe, how I'm surprised it was even happening before I got here because I'm God's gift to Islamic work, right? So without me, how would it even move forward? And Allah Azza wa Jalla is letting us know, all of us know, that His deen is beyond you and I. And it's not like other people will come forward, and so we give other people credit. Allah says, يَأْتِ اللَّهُ بِقَوْمٍ. Not يَأْتِ قَوْمٌ. يَأْتِ قَوْمٌ would be a nation will come. يَأْتِ اللَّهُ بِقَوْمٍ. Allah will bring a nation. It's not even that new nation gets credit. Allah gets credit from bringing them out. Allah gets credit for the replacements. We are replaceable. And we are in a position of privilege and honor. And we have to accept that and admit that. And that's a humbling thing. At the same time, it's an honor. At the same time, you and I should be humbled that Allah has chosen us and given us this responsibility. We should take it very, very seriously. And in no aspect of our deen, and in no ounce of our attitude, should we be people that turn back from our deen. In any capacity, altogether or partly. We shouldn't be of those people. We should be of the people who move forward. You know, there are interesting expressions in the Quran for Muslims moving forward. And essentially, if you're not moving forward, it's not that you're in your place, you're actually headed backwards. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مَا لَكُمْ إِذَا قِيلَ لَكُمْ انْفِرُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ اثَّاقَلْتُمْ إِلَى الْأَرْضِ أَرَضِيتُمْ بِالْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا مِنَ الْآخِرَةِ. Surah At-Tawbah has very harsh language. What's wrong with you, those of you who claim to have Iman? When you're told, march forward in Allah's path, your feet get planted into the earth. What is it? You prefer dunya over akhirah? Is that what's happened to you? It's understandable that a disbeliever who has no concept of paradise, who has no concept of hellfire, who has no concept of judgment day, if he prefers this world, it's logical, I understand. You're Muslims. You've been given far more better information. You know a lot more about what's ahead. And if you still prefer this world, there's some serious problem. مَا لَكُمْ is rightfully said. What would be wrong with you? What is wrong with you that you don't march forward in Allah's path? Anyhow, سَوْفَ يَأْتِ اللَّهُ بِقَوْمٍ. Then Allah gives us qualities of this nation. And it's important to understand the comprehensive message of this ayah. In that Allah says there are people who may walk away from this deen, and now Allah is describing people who don't walk away from His deen. People who live up to the teachings of His deen. People that He expects a nation to be like. So when He gives us qualities of these replacements, really we should have these qualities so we're not replaced. That's the point of giving us these qualities, is that we should aspire to carry these qualities in ourselves as an ummah, and may Allah make it easy for all of us to carry these qualities in ourselves. Allah says, يُحِبُّهُمْ وَيُحِبُّونَهُ. He loves them and they love Him back. He loves them and they love Him. Allah mentioned His love first. And one of the embedded teachings in that is He already loves us. He already loves us. And when we appreciate that, we should truly love Him back. He has given us an honor. You know, a lot of times young people especially, as they're raised sometimes, unfortunately, in this country, you know, by Muslim families, our families, we fail to teach our children what an amazing thing it is to be a Muslim. We just raise them on cruise control, thinking we're raised Muslim, so our kids are going to be automatically appreciating Islam without us having to put any extra effort in it. Okay, maybe we'll drag them to Jummah prayer halfway through the Salah, or we'll bring them to Sunday school and leave them outside and whatever, and then they do what they do 4 hours, and automatically somehow they will become righteous. And reality hits you when they become teenagers. And then you come running to the Imam and say, can you talk to my boy or my girl? Because they seem a little different now. Ever since they got a license. I don't know what's happened to them, you know? Or ever since they got their cell phone, or I'm worried about who their friends are because they don't talk to me anymore. That stuff starts happening. But from the very beginning, we're supposed to